So today we're going to be looking at multiplication charts, and we're going to be practicing using an area model, and we're going to use those to help us solve for multiplication division. So the first thing I want to tell you is that when we look at this, on one side we have numbers starting at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 going all the way to 12. And on the other side, we have 1, 2, 3 all the way through 12. And this would be considered a row, right? So going across, I would consider those rows. And going up and down, I would consider those columns. Think about like an old Roman building with columns, like those white columns in the front. So you could think of up and down as columns. So if you take a look at 1 and you're multiplying it by 1, that's why that X is there, that's the multiplication symbol. 1 and 1 is equal to 1. And that's where they intersect. So where the row and the column meet, that's where your answer is going to be. So 1 times 1 is 1. For example, if you did 6 and you wanted to figure out times 4, you would take the row where 6 is and go all the way to the column of 4 where they meet, and you find your answer at 24. The really cool thing is that you can use a multiplication chart to help you and remember your multiplication facts and memorize them. But there's also something else really cool about it, in that you can use the same idea in an area model and with drawings. I'm going to show you that next. Okay, so we have one block and we have one block, right? And so if you're multiplying it, one row by one column equals one block. So 1 times 1 is 1. We have 1, 2, 3 on this side. And we have 1, 2, 3 on this side. And we're going to multiply them. If I have 3 columns and 3 rows, it would be 3, right? 3 times 1, 2, 3. So a total of 9. 3 times 3 is 9. Awesome. So this would keep going, right? And we can actually use it to solve it. So here, for example, we have 4 times 4. I want you to go ahead and figure out 4 times 4. What's 4 times 4? What does 4 times 4 equal? And you can even check by looking at this model, right? We have 4 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4 columns, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 times is equal to 16. You might not always have all these blocks, right, to be able to figure this out. So there's something else you can do, which is pretty neat, is you can draw it. So if I wanted to draw it, I could go ahead and start off with 4 rows, 1, 2, and you would want them to be even, but it doesn't have to be exact. It's okay. So we have 4 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So we have 4 on this side, and now we need to make 4 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I have 4 on this side. And as you could see, now I've just recreated this model without the blocks. So 4 times 4 is 16. So wherever you are, if you got pencil and paper, you can actually always go ahead and create an area model to help you with multiplication. Pretty neat. All right, so now I have 10 on this side and 5 on the other. So I have 10 times 5. Go ahead and write the answer to 10 times 5. So what I could do is I would take 10, right? And I would have it 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Of course, this will look nicer when I go to the next slide. Bam. Oops, too many. Bam. All right. So I have 10 5 times. So 10 times 5 is 50. I'm just trying to get some 10s in there. So now we have 12 times 2. Go ahead and solve that really quick. What's 12 times 2? So here we have our problem is 2 times 12 We could also write it as 12 times 2. They both mean the same thing, right? 12 2 times or 2 12 times means the same thing. Okay. All right, so here we have 12 on this side. And we're going to multiply it by 2 over here. So let's see what happens when I go to the next slide. It should fill in nicely. At least that's the plan. Aha. Okay, so we have, I want to show this to you as if I were drawing this. So what I did is I took the number 12, right? And I made sure that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, that would actually be how many rows you have across. So if you were to draw a square to get you started, it would look something like this. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 rows. And now we need to make 2 columns. So that's pretty easy. I'm just going to go ahead and do this to make sure there's 2 on this side. Right, so now I have 1, 2 columns. And if you're to look at the total of 12 2 times, or 2 times 12 is equal to 24. You guys all got it. Nice job. All right. So here's another example. This is if I were to just draw, right? So let's say, for example, I want to do 4 times 6. We know that 4 times 6 is 24. So the middle part would equal 24. So if I wanted to, if I were to try and solve a problem and it showed 4 times 6, and it said, how much is the inside worth? How much is that box worth? What's that worth? It's worth 24. And now I'm going to just show it more specifically, right? In order to show that, I would have 4 on one side and 6 on the other, which is equal to a total of 24. So again, just to show steps, you would start off with a box, right? And then you would draw your lines so that you have 4 separate rows, right? So we have 4 rows. And then you would draw your 6, right, times 6, and you would draw your columns going the opposite way. So first you start off across and then you're going down. And then you would end up with a total of 24 squares. All right. So now I want to show you something else. So now we figured out how you could use area models for multiplication. What about division? So here's an example. What if you have 24 as your total and you divide it by 4? Okay, so 24 divided by 4 will actually equal 6, right? So it's going to equal 6, and here's why. So if you have 24 and you're dividing it by 4, you could think of it as 4 groups, right? And you could think about how many are in each group. So if you're to divide this in 4 groups, I'm going to do it this way. I think it's easier. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? We've divided it into 4 groups. Each one of these rows has 6 in it, right? So each one of these groups have 6 in there. So you can actually use the idea of a multiplication table or an area model to help you with division.